Welcome back to Diving In Deep. I'm Sara Evans. This week, we're joined by none other than Taylor Hicks. You might remember him as the winner from American Idol Season 5. With his signature sound and deep Southern roots, Taylor has carved out a unique space in music. Today, we're going to dive into his journey post-Idol, his passion for soulful storytelling, and what's next in his exciting career. So if you like this episode, and if you'd like to support the podcast, be sure to download this episode, leave us a review, and subscribe on YouTube for more content like this. Okay, let's get into the episode. Taylor Hicks.
Sara Evans.
What the hell have you been up to? I've missed you.
I know. I keep up with you.
I keep up with you too.
We have a posse. We have a clique that
we do.
We run in and out of.
Yeah, mostly in Birmingham. Yeah. Specifically in Mountain Brook, which is where I lived for 15 years, and we were always together at things. We went to the Bama National Championship game together. And
fun times.
Was that in LA? Yeah.
Yeah.
At the Rose Bowl. Yeah. We've had so many fun times.
And Jay's doing good.
Jay's great. So I was about to tell you. So we bought a farm.
Okay.
And it's about 30 minutes south of here.
Is this the first time that you've told people on your podcast that you have this?
I don't really know if I've talked about the farm yet, but I've posted people are sick of me posting about the farm but I grew up on a farm in Missouri. And I've always wanted to have horses and have land and maybe like build a house, on the land, live in the country. But as you know, you just have no time when you're a touring artist to do anything like that. So finally, I was just like, please, I'm begging you. So Jay really hyper focused in with my brother and sister-in-law who are real estate agents. And good. They found this beautiful piece of land. It's only 40 acres, so
it's okay.
But we're trying. There's a lot.
You know what? All you need is an acre of peace and quiet.
Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, that's like.
And the house we live in now is actually on 4 acres, and it feels very peaceful and quiet. Right. But we're hoping to be able to buy more land around us so that.
Make a compound.
Kind of make a compound. Have all the
kids
live there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with that. I have a friend of mine who's got some land up in northern Idaho, and he's talked about, he's talked about having like his best friends, his family, to build homes on it and just. I mean, how fun is that?
Everybody take like 5 acres.
I mean, how fun does that sound? I mean, that's kind of like, that's like utopia. That's like the ideal situation. But
above and beyond anything that I would ever dream of, that would be amazing. And thankfully, my 3 children are my best friends. Yeah. And so we get along great. They're coming over tonight. We're always together. So anyway, we bought this farm, and Jay, he's just been so amazing because, I just almost got to the point where I was crying, like, are we ever going to do the farm and the horses?
How long has it been?
So it's been about 9 months maybe since we bought the farm. We got it all fenced. So we have this guy, his name is Tommy. He also works with her horses and her farm. And so I texted I said, do you know anybody that can help me do this? So Tommy's been helping us. So we got the fence built.
Who you'll know forever for your whole life.
Who I'll know for my whole life. And they're great. And he and his wife both do the horse stuff together. So we have 3 horses. Well, 2 of them are older because I wanted to start out with old horses. One of them is 7. But the other 2 are older because I don't want anybody to get hurt because everybody's new riders. Right. I grew up riding. Yeah. I grew up on a farm.
Right.
So I ride the 7-year-old. And then Jay just surprised me and bought me another one a few days ago. That's a 7-year-old mare.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's huge and terrifying, but she'll be my horse. So you asked me what Jay's doing.
So is Jay ridden? Because I come from Jay and I kind of come from the same hood.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, my grandparents went to Alabama games with Jay's parents. Yeah. And so, I mean,
exactly.
There wasn't any horses and,
no horses, there wasn't, all football.
So tell me, Jay, so did you teach Jay how to ride a horse?
So far, and this is Jay's personality. He has been watching YouTube, learning about horses, how to saddle. So it's been amazing because I grew up on a horse riding, but my parents did all the work. I didn't know how to take care of them. They did all that. I just rode all the time. So he has not really gotten into riding yet, mostly because we don't really have, the one we just bought is a big stout horse, and the other ones are kind of like 180 pound limit. And so you would want to be real careful riding them too much, because they're older, but 2 of them need to be fed morning and night. So he's feeding right now, to answer your question.
So he's turned into he
loves it. We call him Farmer Jay. I mean, that's the kids.
He always wore flannel too. So he's like, he was already like one step ahead.
He's a cowboy.
The game. Yeah.
He is a cowboy. Like I've been calling him Rip, on Yellowstone, and he loves it. And so his joy is saddling for us and like, enabling us to ride, so like the girls and I will go down and we'll meet there at like 7:38 in the morning, and he loves just saddling and then just watching us enjoy riding. But he is going to start riding when we get a horse that's perfect for him. Right. Then he'll start riding.
I didn't tell. So I was doing a food and travel series on the Inspiration channel called State Plate, and we did a show. It's on Amazon Prime, I believe. Mm-hmm. Still is. So we put a plate of food together.
Wait, what's it called? I want to watch this.
State Plate. So it's called State Plate. So we went to each state, all 50 states. Okay. And we put a plate of food together that was just iconic to that state. Okay. So we did like we had like a dessert, appetizers. So I went to Colorado, and they asked me if I'd ever ridden horses before. And I told them, sure, I have, which I'd never ridden a horse in my freaking life.
You're lying, but you said
I just wanted to when you understand, like when you're in the throes of television and stuff, like at the end of like the day, or if you've got to shoot, like you'll do let's just shoot, let's get it going.
Right. Yeah. So see what happens.
So this horse comes up and they're like, you know how to get on it and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I might need a little bit of help. And then the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what the hell's going to happen to this damn horse. So I get on it and it takes off. It recognized that the gate was open.
Oh no.
So they saw the gate out of the court. They saw that because there were all kinds of people around. Luckily, that horse hauled ass right back in its stable. So I was on it. It took off and it went right back into its stall. And I was sitting there like on the horse.
But the horse was running.
Oh yeah. It was galloping towards its stall. But I was like, after that, I was a little bit skittish about horses. But the fact that it just took off and ran right into the stall. And I was like, how did this horse realize that gate was closed or not? Because he knew.
They know.
I mean, it was amazing being around them just for the first time, and them that experience was like, they're so brilliant. I mean, they're brilliant. I don't know if that's like a thing with horses.
No, it is.
Because they watch and see if the
I'm about to tell you something.
Good.
Okay. The rule is you never ever, and this is one of the scariest things when you're on a horse, especially a young horse who's a little dancy, and they always want to run back to the barn because they know they're going to be fed at the barn. So the rule is you never, ever, ever let your horse run back to the barn, because you could get an inexperienced rider or a child or something on that horse and they could get hurt really, really bad. Yeah. So you have to hold them back and they'll start
Yeah,
you got to do it right.
Super. I mean, I was shook up a good bit, but it was hilarious because they were laughing because I think they kind of knew where this horse was going. He just kind of and I'm like, I'm just sitting on this horse. And it's like, I'm I don't know how to get off of it. And like, we're in the stall together for like 2 minutes.
He probably was like, are you going to get off? Like,
I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, I want to, like, okay, we're done here.
That probably scared the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. It was that was my first time. But then I kind of started figuring it out. And lo and behold, this shoot that we did in Colorado, it was me and one of the ranch owners, and we were galloping in a field of like 9-foot tall sunflowers. It was absolutely the most amazing experience. I mean, the mountains were, it was like something that I'll always remember because I've always thought about, getting on a horse.
Right.
But then after that happened, and then knowing how smart they are and having that experience, it was awesome. Right. But I'm really excited about you having.
I'm so happy.
Because you know what? Honestly, like, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but like, you and I kind of you and I started singing and gigging at a very early. You probably were a little bit earlier as far as professional singing. I started professionally singing like 18. Mm-hmm. I mean, you were probably doing.
I was 6.
Yeah, you were
in bars,
and like when we've done some things together and we've sung together and stuff. I mean, the people that actually have been in the business a long time and like are just you have the X factor. You have always had the it factor, and I wanted to tell you that, and I because that's just. I mean, you deserve to have a plot of land.
Thank you.
You work your ass off. Everybody knows it. You get in the bus. You go work shows. Mm-hmm. You're a mama. I mean, you deserve some peace and serenity.
Thank you so much for saying that. That really means a lot to me.
Well, because I know we don't get to hang out much, but we run with some saying, and I see that, and I think a lot of people. A lot of your fans see that too, and probably would agree with me. But I just want to tell you, like, the arc of your career. You still get in the bus, still put the hair and do the hair and makeup.
Yep.
Get your butt out there and sing those songs, sing those hits. And you're going to be doing it a long time. But I think at this point, like, I'm happy to hear that you've carved yourself a little bit of the universe to.
Yeah, because I think you have to make it happen. Otherwise, it just won't. Because we do 70 to 75 shows a year, and I think if you're not, people don't understand the wear and tear that is. And I've been doing that for 30 years. Pretty much nonstop every year. And it used to be, and I'm sure you too, way more than that, in the hundreds. And it is complete wear and tear. And especially when you have to fly, like tomorrow, I got to fly.
And like mentally.
And like I mean, my team, I get in these moods where I'm just so angry, not at them, but I'm just angry at the world because I don't have time to live. I don't have time to live. Like 2 days at home, and then it's not rough. Enough. And
it's a lot easier, I feel like, for a male because we could just throw shit in we could just, we're on the fly.
And you don't have to do hair and makeup.
Yeah, you have I've been around long enough to be around female artists. It's like, it's tough to you gotta have a look every night.
Right.
And then when you're 48 hours and all you've got is 48 hours, it's literally not enough time.
You panic. You start panicking like that famous line in Coal Miner's Daughter when Loretta had her breakdown and she goes up on stage and she said, I've been living this life or whatever, but lately I feel like my life's been living me and running me instead of me running my life. And I count it all joy, and I'm grateful, and I'm so thankful to God, and love. And I sing better now than I've ever sang. so all of that part of it, I love. And the 90 minutes on stage, I adore. And, I just came out with a new record in June. But the traveling and not having the time at home. And now that my kids...
How old are they now?
Avery's 25, and he's an aspiring artist. Yeah. Livy is 21, and Audrey's 20.
Okay, I knew of their ages, but I didn't know, like, specific ages.
Yeah. You knew them when they were real little.
Yeah.
And... yeah, so I feel like now almost is even more, because they used to go with me. So now I'm leaving my family. I'm getting on one bus with my band because we can't afford 2 buses anymore. And so I'm on one bus with my band and crew, who I love, but I'm leaving my family. So I'm having severe FOMO, because they're at home. They're all having movie night. They're all going to Soho for dinner.
They're all sending you pictures.
And I'm working, and I'm sharing a bathroom with 10 men, and, not showering for 3 days, and like all of the whole deal. So all that to say, I really appreciate you saying that, because it's changed my life, just being able to be in nature and get off the bus when I'm home and go out to the farm. Yeah.
I mean, being able to go and pick a plot of land out and just to even be able to visualize it.
Right.
So what's interesting about that is that, and what's cool that I just thought about is that, when I was on Idol, I had so many interviews about who did I, aspire to be from a vocalist perspective. Mm-hmm. And it was always Ray Charles, because I started out singing Ray Charles. That's all I sang.
Yeah.
So the show called me Gray Charles. So that was kind of my nickname on the show, right? Uh-huh. And so, but I always, was always studying Ray Charles growing up, and so obviously Ray had passed a couple of years before I won Idol, and they asked me to come to his studio and office and take a tour and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I'd love to do that.
Yes.
And it was in LA. And it's just like this block. But what's interesting though, is like very sterile, but it was like a dental office. Interesting fact though, there was a waiting room for his females. And there was a door that looked like the wall. Mm-hmm. So one of them could come in and the other one could come out without running into each other. It's interesting. Ray Charles was an interesting character. But what was interesting about Ray was that he found a slab of concrete. And when he found his slab of concrete, because he was blind, he didn't need nature or anything. He actually built that office and that home with his hands. He would do shows, he would fly home, and then as they were building it, they would be like, Mr. Charles, now we're going to the living room. So he would put his hands and be able to visualize and like materialize in his mind what his plot of land, his own plot of land looked like and felt like in his mind.
You are lying.
And the whole house was based on musical notes. So if Ray would whistle, like he would whistle, and then at the end of the bar of music, he would know where to take a left and a right. So he would whistle the whole. So
whoa, my mind is blown.
It's a lot, isn't it? Yeah, it was. I hope that they have preserved his office and his studio and stuff. It was literally it's like a doctor's office. But the fact that when they tell you the story,
when you say that about the sterile part, why is that?
Because it was just kind of like the lighting was interesting, because he didn't need lighting really.
Yeah.
He didn't. So it was like very sterile. It was like sterile lighting, and it like not moody at all.
Okay.
But the fact that he actually built the whole place with his hands. I mean, he would fly home. and he would, you know, go through it all, and like he would, you know, so he could. But it was interesting that you said, like, 'cause that's like you finally finding your piece of land.
Yes.
Because now you can visualize and materialize and pat the walls and kind of.
Right.
And that's such a uplifting feeling to be able to do that.
It really, really is.
And you deserve it.
Well, thank you.
Back to my point.
Now, where do you live exactly?
Here in Nashville. So I'm in Germantown.
Oh.
So I've been in and out of Nashville I came here when I was 23 years old, had a band in Birmingham. This was the most northern part that we traveled.
Okay.
Lived here off of Ackland Avenue. Mm-hmm. You know, went to the writers' rounds and then would have to travel back down to Birmingham and then go to do shows and gigs and stuff. And then it was just like, I couldn't do it anymore. I never could find the connections. Mm-hmm. I couldn't find the record deal. And so I had to move back home. And that was when I was about 23. Idol happened about 28. And then at 32, I bought a house over in Westmead. Mm-hmm. Had a house in Westmead. Mm-hmm. And then ended up in Vegas for 2 years on a gig.
Okay.
You know, which was crazy.
Well, so this is...
So now I've been back here. I've been in Germantown for about 8 or 9 years now. Love it.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm right down the road. Yeah. I don't...
Well, when are we going to get together?
I'm coming down to the farm. You're putting me on a horse again.
I'm going to put you on the one who...
Well, you know what? I want to ride with Farmer Jay.
Yeah,
I've got to. I mean, I love that. I mean, because I've known Jay a long time.
Y'all will have the best time.
The fact that, like, he's on a farm. I mean, I totally can see it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
he loves it. And
loves to do stuff. That's amazing.
Totally. And I don't think that, you know, he's like a perfectionist because, you know, when everybody else would be done practicing, I mean, he would stay late because he wants to be the best. And so he's taken to this horse stuff with the same mindset. So now, you know, he knows so much more than I do. He knows how to saddle and what you should do. And
So is the home built?
No, gosh, no. And I'm so intimidated to build a home, but we're going to.
You got to. You got to pull the trigger.
We have to do it.
Just go on and just move it all down there.
We've just decided, though, that we are going to interview at least 20 builders because...
Take your time.
We remodeled a house in Mountain Brook, and we had this guy named do it, and it broke us, and it was the worst experience of my life. And I've had some really bad experience. I've almost died 3 times. You know. Put me in that plane.
I didn't know it was.
It wasn't. It was his friend.
But like, I don't think people realize like you need when you talk about that, you need to be like, cue the visual.
Yes.
And like literally show the plane in completely inverted.
Exactly.
I mean, that is like literally like something out of that Denzel Washington.
It is. It
you
did
remember
the same
being
thing.
Upside down in the seat? Or were you checked out? Like, were you...
We knew that we were in chaos, but it felt just like bad turbulence. We never knew we were upside down, and I never knew that. You don't know. And so, like, that's how JFK Jr., he did not know his plane was upside down. Oh, my gosh. We were in the dark, and it was cloudy, so there were no stars to see. The gyroscope broke, which is the piece of equipment that tells your airplane if it's upside down or not.
When did it break?
So they took off manually. Once we got to a certain whatever the feet is, they switched to autopilot. That's when they realized the gyroscope was broken. So it thought the plane was upside down, and it flipped us upside down. And then we started heading towards the ground. Told me we were half second from hitting the ground. Because he studied it and watched it a million times. Like all the pilots in Birmingham have watched it. Yeah.
Fascinating.
And so, yeah. So anyway, but I don't know how we got onto that about, the remodeling the home. So was the worst experience of my life. It brought out the worst person in me because I'm really, chill. I'm a very chill person. I'm not, but you know how they're all kind of known for that, we'll be there on Tuesday and then they don't, and they send their crew somewhere else. It was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare. The only good thing about it is that Lisa decorated it and it was gorgeous. But so I'm very intimidated to build a house, but we have to just everything. And it's only 30 minutes. So if you know any good builders, let me know.
Well, it's, there's, I've always been under the impression, and I've got a friend that's built, like, he has a big pool and he lives in Charleston, and he's like, it's just extremely slow how they operate. Mm-hmm. And that's that's a beach town. Mm-hmm. But like, he was telling me, he was like, I should put like deadlines, like in contract, like you've got to be done at this point, but
or you're paying me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, but I couldn't imagine, like, because a lot of people are building out in the country outside of Nashville.
Yes.
So I would think that it would be tough to find builders to be able to be on deadlines.
I have a friend who was able to get her builder to sign a contract like that. So every day that they're behind schedule, he owes them like $2,000 or something per day
or something.
Yeah. So I think that's what we would try to do. But we're going to interview, because I fall in love with people so easily. So like, I would have one meeting with the builder and I would be like, okay, let's go. That's me. That's what I do. And it always gets me in trouble. But anyway, I wanted to real quick, because it's been a while, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that you won American Idol in 2006.
Yeah. 06.
And that you have one of the best, coolest, most amazing, like Ray Charles type voices that I've ever heard. I love your voice. And I know that you've probably done a billion interviews about it, but just sum it up just a little bit. Like, what was it like to be on it and win it? And I just had a friend who got a golden ticket who's going to go.
It's kind of tough to put into words because, like, at the time, like, you don't realize, I didn't realize how, you don't realize how popular the show is because you're literally in a microcosm, and like when I would go downstairs when we were in LA, and we would all eat breakfast, and like, you would look down and your face would be on the corner of the USA Today on the front page. I mean, you started putting things together. I mean, literally I went from playing the Oasis in Birmingham, Alabama to touring Southeast Asia in 6 months. I mean, like,
oh my God.
I went from like literally playing small clubs to like pulling up in Manila and it being a pandemonium.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it truly, an outer, before I came over here, I was thinking about like, I just wanted to, like, my goal was always to like make records, mm-hmm. Be an entertainer. Yep. If you do some TV, fine. If you do some film, just be an entertainer.
Yep.
That was my vision as a child. However I needed to get there, and I always thought, as I was moving into my, my late 20s and early, the writing was on the wall for me that there wasn't going to be this like cataclysmic break. I was going to have to bear down, build my audience, mm-hmm. one gig at a time, create a record. And then at some point I felt like, after 25, 30 years of hacking away at it, that I would, have a good life, play, 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
And, live somewhere nice and be happy.
Yeah.
Like that's all I really, and to this day, that's kind of all I really want, you know? But I knew that I was going to get there. I just didn't know how. But then that happened, and it was like, then it was like, it was just such a blessing,
Yes.
especially being on Idol at that time, right after Carrie. It was literally like the Super Bowl every Tuesday and Wednesday night.
Yeah, at the time that you were on it, it was the most popular show, and that was when, before Apple TV and before all this stuff, so everybody was watching the network.
And you know what? You would appreciate this because my season was the last season that it was a strictly singing competition. So Carrie and then I were like, you couldn't play instruments when from season 1 to 6, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
You had to take this thing and you better go to town on it and sing your ass off and convince people to keep you on television.
Yes.
It wasn't, because then I think what happened is that I kind of integrated harmonica into the show a little bit, and I think they started figuring that out, that there's, let's add some musical element, right, to it. Mm-hmm. And then I think what happened was that people started picking up guitars, and I think people were a little bit more stationary on the show. Whereas from the first 5 seasons, we had to take this mic and we had to go to that end of the stage and that end of the stage. We couldn't stand in one place and hide behind our guitars. We had to go take this mic
and to the people,
to the people.
Yes.
But it was honestly the most amazing. I'm so thankful. The business part of the, Idol is, anything in that that's that big and that popular.
Right.
It's, the business side is, is always going to be testy. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. But the exposure for me has allowed me to still be in show business for 20 something years now.
Yeah. What an amazing blessing. Yeah. Who were you on there with? Were you on there with,
so Catherine and I, Catherine Foster. Well, Idol, I was on the Clive Davis side of because Clive was, it was his record company that we signed with off of Idol. So It was I was like Diane Warren. I was in the Diane Warren camp, of course. She had her hands in Idol, which is true,
Yeah.
And so, that side of I never was on the Foster side. I was always on the Clive Davis side, which is, looking back on it, it was really amazing that, because I still for instance, about 6 years ago, Santana was playing and I knew his conga player. And so Santana and I had this wonderful conversation about Clive, because
wow.
And he was like, "Hey, do you want to play harp on this song?" And I'm like, "What?" And the next thing I know, I'm playing, so there's this tree of musicians that come from the Clive Davis side of music.
Is Clive Davis still alive?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, I couldn't believe it. It was one of those moments where it's oh my God, I'm arguing with Clive Davis, because Clive was like, "I want you to sing, Taylor, I want you to sing, you need to redo the vocals on one of the songs." And I was like, "Man, Clive," I was like, "I can't sing that song any better. I don't know what you're hearing."
Right. What do you want from me?
I literally, if I sing it in a different, I'm going to be out of tune.
Right.
I can't, for some reason, he had something in his mind that was so I was I had to pinch me. But what was interesting about Clive was that Clive was what I loved about Clive Davis is that Clive Davis was a music lover. Mm-hmm. He was a hard ass. He was a music business guy, but was a really, I know he's a lover of music. So I'm I can't argue with him too much because he loves it. But he was interesting because he always said, I was like, I can't sing it anymore. Like, I can't sing it any different. He was like, then I always give way to the artist. And I was like, wow. I was like, and that might be the reason why you are Clive Davis, is because you allowed yourself to be able to say, okay, I've come up against a wall. I'm going to let the artist have the final say so. Which is so smart, because that's the only way you get true authenticity from the artist. And that's where success comes from. I have a question though, because like, have you gotten into some throwdowns with some producers in your career? And I wasn't saying mine was a throwdown, but like, it was not a knockdown drag out. But it was like, what do you want me to do, Deb? Right. But then I'm like, oh shit, I'm arguing with Clive Davis, have you had some moments like that where you're you've run into producers that are like, no, the answer is no. And I will say one reason is because I've always co-produced. The closest I've ever come to that is working with Pete Anderson. Who would not co-produce. He's Dwight Yoakam's guitar player and producer. So he did all the guitars, Cadillacs, every Dwight Yoakam album he produced. And if it wasn't for Pete Anderson's wacky guitar playing, Dwight would not be Dwight. Right. So when I first got my deal, I was like, told I was the new demo singer around town, and everybody was like, have you heard the new girl, the Sara girl, she's so country. So I was like, well, maybe that's because I grew up covering everybody. I mean, my brothers and I had a family band, and my sisters, I come from a family of 7, and so I've been on stage since I was 6 years old, playing in bars, watching drunk people two-step, and covering everything and loving all kinds of music, not just country. Right. However, country is my wheelhouse, especially the real stone cold country, bluegrassy kind of stuff. Which is like, I'm really happy to hear that, like, there's, like yourself, like, there's some really, like, people are coming around to that, to those female I call them birds. You're a bird, that like, they're like literally have great, like, you just the resonance, the tone, I mean. And mine's always been real, I think that's partly, starting out in bluegrass. So you learn to hit those like, you hit those notes and you strike them. And, but then I also love fast vibrato. So like if I'm doing a Stevie Nicks song, my vibrato is faster than hers. I mean, I have the fastest vibrato. But that's so cool though. I mean, that's where for me as a singer, I mean, that's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, that's where, like, like I said, like you there's controlling vibrato, like some people can't do that. And they're like, you're like, right. But like being able to control it and having fast vibrato. Right. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard fast vibrato. Well, okay. For instance, Guy did a Crossroads with Maroon 5 and we, what's his name and I sang... Adam, thank you. We sang Leather and Lace together. And if you go and watch that on YouTube, you'll hear how fast my vibrato is. Was that like a moment for you? Did you know that you were singing that vibrato that fast? Oh, yeah, I did it on purpose. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. To try to mimic her. Right. Yeah. And I also just God. Now that I think about it, Leather and Lace, like... hers is like off the charts. Yeah. Crazy fast. So fast. Yeah. Interesting. Now I know. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Now I'm trying to think of it or else I would sing it. But just watch it on YouTube. It's just funny because the vibrato is just ridiculously fast. But that's what Stevie did. She just... But that's where, like you as a vocalist, like you use that tool that you have as an instrument.
Absolutely. Your voice is an instrument, as you know. I mean,
and you can, the instrumentalist, the vocalist, the true vocalists are able to control that vibrato.
Yeah.
You know,
it comes from growing up on stage doing cover songs, because you learn to mimic everybody. I mean, so I can sing Beyonce. I can do, like, for instance, when Mariah Carey's album came out, You've Got Me Feeling Emotion, speaking of Clive Davis. And I remember I was like, well, I'm going to learn every single thing she does, and I'm not going to stop until I have mastered every single lick that she does on every song on this album. So I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours doing that. Then I would move to another artist like Beyonce or Stevie Nicks or, you know, whoever it may be. But that's, I think, to me, that was just a way of, like, the equivalent of getting better at guitar. It's just getting better.
Absolutely.
Because I want to be able to do whatever I want to do vocally at any moment.
What do you do for, see, I don't warm up.
I do.
Warm up?
You have to.
Like, I've been able to get away with not warming up. I mean, like,
you don't have to do it very...
I'll walk right on to stage. But at the same time, though, like, I'm not coming out of the gates with, like, crazy song. Like, I'm not coming out of the gates with crazy notes that I got to hit.
Right.
I usually play songs later on in the set when I warm up. But it's like, for me, sitting there and, you know, I did 576 Broadway shows.
I know that. I mean, I didn't know how many.
Speaking of warming up, like, and speaking of, like, being on the road, like, that was.
How did you do that?
When I went to New York City and was on Broadway for 4 months, after the Grease run, they asked me if I wanted to take it on the road, and I was like, you know, and I was thinking, like, sure, like, and they were like, for 18 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, how many shows are that? And they were like 576 shows in 18 months, 8 shows a week, to maybe 4 weeks off the whole time. So maybe a week off every 4 months.
Oh my God.
I mean,
did you do it?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. I did it. I was, but I didn't sing. I wasn't on stage a ton. I had a really great role, but, like.
So you had some breaks.
I had some breaks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I came, you know, I had a really, really great gig. I mean, but I didn't want, like, a ton of stage time to begin with. And, you know, in theater. I'd never done theater. I mean, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
is theater hard?
I was a bar singer.
Yeah.
You know, I walked into, I mean, they offered me 5 roles, and it was, but this is what show business is. They're like, you got a name, you can sell some tickets, we'll put you in whatever you want, and we'll figure it out.
Right.
You know, like.
Right. Okay. So
what
role did you play?
So I was offered Hairspray. Like, I was offered Teen Angel and Grease.
Okay.
And then Hairspray. 3 other shows that were running on Broadway at the time. And I kind of understood kind of that's how they do it. Like, you know, they'll just plug and play sometimes if they think they can work you in. And so I took the Grease role. I took the Teen Angel role because I knew what I needed to do was bring along the American Idol fan.
Exactly.
And I knew that Grease would, like, be a no-brainer to be able to carry that good old American Idol fan.
Okay, so what songs did you sing?
So I did, we did the hand jive at the end, and then I did Beauty School Dropout.
Yeah.
But it was interesting.
Wasn't that Frankie Valli?
Yeah. So the Frankie Valli tune. So I asked them, I was like, and I sat down with, like, Jim Jacobs, who actually wrote Grease, you know, and, like, was really neat. Like,
and he's a pervert.
Yes.
Just based on the lyrics alone.
I mean, there is a extremely X-rated version of Grease that they actually perform in Chicago. That's like, I mean, it is. I learned all about Grease because I was completely thrown into like Grease. I was thrown into Rydell High School. Yeah, I went to Rydell High for like.
When you think about it, and I don't want to interrupt your train of thought here. So when you think about it, so like Jay and I watched it recently again. We were like, my God. First of all, there's a pregnancy scare. You know, Rizzo, she thinks she's pregnant. There's all the stuff that you
don't even like know it until you like.
It goes right over your head.
It gets like.
Yeah. And but
it's such a genius.
The chicks will cream for Grease and Lightning, and I'm like, you're high schoolers. But when we were high schoolers, we were already adults.
Yeah.
Something changed, I think, with millennials, like around that kind
of like coddled.
They were very coddled, and they weren't, you know, because we were
things started to become, you know, things started to become political and polarizing, and like the schools started pulling stuff, and
that's
very, like.
Whereas the 18-year-olds in World War II were storming the beaches of Normandy, so why wouldn't they already be practically married?
Yes.
And, you know, our parents got married at 18, 19. Yeah. So go ahead. So you heard a different version of Grease Lightning.
So yeah, there's an alternative version. There's an alternative written like script of Grease Lightning that is like even raunchier than the real one. But it was, you know, I knew that I just had to take the American Idol fan along. And I also knew that like I wasn't going to get another theater gig if I didn't take this one. Right? Mm-hmm. You know, so I ended up actually taking a way more serious role in a playhouse in Serenbe, Georgia.
Oh.
Have you ever been to Serenbe?
No.
So there's a regional playhouse in Serenbe, Georgia, and Serenbe is right outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
And it's a really beautiful, like eco-friendly neighborhood community. Mm-hmm. A lot of CEOs from Atlanta like live there. Easy to get to the airport. They have a hotel. Like a really nice restaurant. But anyway, they have outside. They had these outside shows, where they would do Miss Saigon, and they would you would be outside on their piece of land, and like they would land a helicopter. It was completely immersive. So I was actually in Shenandoah, that old Jimmy. Is it Jimmy? Oh shit.
Oh yeah,
it was
not Jimmy Rogers. No,
Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, it was the Jimmy Stewart, and I ended up being actually Charlie Anderson and being on stage for a long time, and like just 4 of my kids died, and I had to like cry, and like it was like I went from teen angel to like one of the hardest male roles that you can have. And the director at the time who hired me didn't tell me that. You know, he was just like, come down here and check this out, mm-hmm. you know, and then he handed me a book, and I was like, oh my God. But it was amazing because I had to get all that out. Like I had to flush all that out to be able to see if I could to pick up some more acting gigs.
Right.
You know, and I was blessed to have that opportunity, but it was beautiful. They had like a Civil War reenactment before the play started. Mm-hmm. So you walked through like the Civil War reenactment and sat at your seats, and it was like under the stars.
Amazing.
It was like super interactive play in this field, this country field.
That sounds amazing.
It's very, very ingenious in my opinion. But that's kind of how I kind of ran through the theater mm-hmm. part of, but back to doing a ton of shows. Yeah. Know exactly what you mean. I wasn't on stage, but I was with actors and actresses that were on stage an hour and a half mm-hmm. for all of those 576 shows. And I don't know how the hell they did it.
How did they? And also, how did they keep their voices?
They would warm up.
Like I do warm up. Like I'm leaving tomorrow.
You're doing 90 minutes right now?
We do 90. It actually ends up being, what's 10 more minutes than 90?
100.
So it's hour and 40 minutes.
40.
Yeah.
With an intermission?
No intermission.
Do you like intermissions?
No.
I don't either.
I hate them. And so that's what I was going to tell you. Have you ever played Green Hall in Texas?
No.
It's kind of like Billy Bob's. It's like famous kind of honky tonk. It's so fun. So we're getting ready to do a 4-day run, but I have to do 2 shows back to back at Green Hall, like the one right after another.
So like a 7 and a 9 or something?
Yeah.
A 7 and a 10?
Right. And
is that normal for there?
I don't know. I've never done that before. Maybe once in my career I've done that. So I'm really dreading it because I give it all. And so I need a night's sleep to have my voice again. You know what I'm saying?
Just as a testament to the fact that I actually watch her podcasts, you told me, or you told your audience, and I saw this, where you were in the bus, and if you heard the first line, the first strip, you're fine. But if you heard the second strip, you're screwed.
Yes.
See, I just want to let you know that I'm like...
Totally.
I listen to that because we follow each other and stuff. So I'll roll through the podcast and listen to some of the stuff. But I thought that was an interesting point that you made about that.
If you...
Because I know what that first road strip means. I mean, you know, when you're like... Because it wakes you up.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to bounce all over the place, but...
Well, he was like, you're really in danger if you hear that.
The second one, right?
The second one. One is fine, but if you hear the second one, then you need to run to the driver. So I'm just like, thank you for telling me that.
We were going from Phoenix to LA. The straightest road in America. Yeah. There's absolutely no hills, no nothing. I'm up in the front of the bus, and my driver goes, have you ever driven one of these things? And I was like, hell no. And he was like, well, we're about to freak everybody out because I'm going to get you to hold the steering wheel, and I'm going to run back to the back and make coffee. And so we were driving down the road, and he goes, have you got, so I'm like, and he goes over me, right? And we start, and I'm like, but I mean, it's like a 4-lane road. I mean, it's still straight. I mean, like, if you can't,
right,
all you gotta do is just do this.
Right.
He runs back in the back and starts making coffee, and the whole bus freaks out.
I bet.
Could you imagine that?
So what did it feel like?
Have you never gotten in the,
I've never driven.
You never gotten in there? I only did that one time, but like, oh my God, it feels like you have like every bit of weight on that bus.
Yeah.
In that bus is on your hands.
Exactly.
Like literally, like just a little bit, like it just like 1 little inch.
Right.
Pulls that bus either right or left.
Yeah, and that's why, the best drivers will practically come to a stop when they're going to turn because, they're just so aware that everybody's sleeping and you don't want to be moved around too much.
How many miles? You should figure out how many miles you've logged on a bus in your life.
I should figure that out because, like I said, for 30 years, I've been on the road pretty much nonstop, except for the 3 children that I had when I would take that time off. Then COVID, we had to cancel a year.
Which people don't understand COVID. Like all of the we get deposits, right? So we get deposits before we play.
Right.
And usually, sometimes I will spend that money.
Right.
We get a deposit.
Well, now I think the way it works with me is it goes in a trust or not a trust, but
you get it after you play the gig. Yeah.
Yeah. They give it to William Morris.
Right.
The first half.
Yep.
Then you get the next
Hold
half.
it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I like, I have that a little bit, but then there's some that I got. And like when that hit, like I had to pay all that back.
Right.
Those deposits all went away. Like, like they're like, hey, we need our, we need our money back. And that's what people don't understand about what the entertainment business, and COVID hit is because some of those deposits that you get actually come in.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I had to dump, speaking of, like I had to dump, a piece of property on the lake.
That sucks.
Yeah. And,
that sucks. Yeah. It was horrible.
Yeah. It was like, what do you, what do you do? Like you and I are, we sing for, but if you really got down to brass tacks, that's what we do for a living.
Right.
And we got all this other stuff we can do around us, but
we sing.
We sing.
Yeah.
For a living.
Okay. Before I let you go, cause we're almost out of time, you only have to warm up really for about 2 or 3 minutes. So it's not a big deal. Would you like me to show you one?
Absolutely.
Okay. My voice is really tired because we filmed 2 yesterday and 2 tonight. Talking is the worst thing. So my doctor at Vanderbilt Voice Clinic is always like, don't talk. Just if you can get away without talking, don't talk. It's the worst thing. Which killed
some people, which really hurt some contestants that I was on Idol with. Their families would call them and talk to them all day long.
No.
And they would get to the phone
is the worst.
They would get to the performance and they'd be like,
yeah.
And I'd be like, dude, you got to tell your fam to chill.
So I have the most incredible backup singer and she takes lessons from this incredible vocal coach. And so I just steal what she learns. So you want it to be real forward, like all in your nasal. So this is how we start. It's usually like, ee. And so you want it to get where you get to that high note without you want it to be clear as a bell. And once I get to that point, then I know I'm ready. So it's like, and it's all the weirdest thing. And people die laughing. And
they're like, who is cackling?
Oh, yeah. And it's like, meow, 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 meow. And then if I'm not hitting the high note, she'll just tell me, put it more in, just think of it as going.
But people don't understand, the volume,
Yeah.
Like we're sitting in this room, but you just did that, your volume.
I have such a loud voice.
But all the birds that I think are birds.
Yeah.
They can't come with this they sing, man.
Right.
They got something to say. God gave them that ability to sing it.
Absolutely.
And say it.
My vocal cords are leather by now, but every time I go in the studio, they immediately start turning knobs down because I do have such a loud voice. It's probably annoys a lot of people.
You're one of my faves. Thank you so much.
You are one of mine too, and also just people.
I know that we need to actually graduate to the farm and really kind of have this conversation.
Now that I know that you live here, you're coming over.
Farmer Jay, I got to get some of Farmer Jay.
You got to see Farmer Jay because he wears it well. He
looks
good.
He's a hunk.
Farmer, yeah. He's a hunk, and so he's all into the, the Wrangler shirts and that kind of deal. So you're coming over. You're coming to the farm, but also we just need to hang.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite thing in life right now?
Ooh, my favorite thing in life. That's a good question. Shit.
And you look so much like George Clooney. I cannot get over it.
No. Well,
you do though.
There's a lot of work involved with that, and that's been
looking like George Clooney.
It's been tough because I was plump George. COVID. When I realized that I wasn't going to sing, I was like, oh. Let's go on and get fat.
Yeah, I gained weight, but I lost it, thank God.
It's been a struggle. I love food. I'm super on a diet.
Do that shot that everybody's doing.
I have been. And I've totally need it because, as someone that doesn't do we travel during the weekends, Monday through Fridays, we can, we're not into a 9-to-5 setting. So we're not if I wanted something to eat, then I could just go get it.
Right.
So it was very tangible,
Yes.
And I needed something to regulate that.
Right.
Now that that's happened, I'm feeling a lot better. Honestly, my health, I would say that being able to look back and I think 3 or 4 months ago, I was probably 35 pounds heavier than I was right now. That's a lot of weight.
You look great.
Well, I appreciate that.
You really do.
Yeah. It's taken a lot of, it takes a lot of willpower, But I always tell people, like, if your stomach is small, like all of these things that you want, you don't want, like,
right.
You got to get it's just discipline. And
That's all it is.
I'm happy to say that I've been able to make some strides in that department. And owning Saul's Barbecue in Birmingham has not helped. Any shameless plug.
It's my favorite.
For the restaurant.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
You know what? So my publicist calls me. And I'm in the middle of like trying to get to you and stuff. And like, I'm in the car, it's 4:30, it's traffic in Nashville. And I'm like, I forgot my harmonica. I was going to bring you like all this Saul's gear. I was going to like outfit you with all of this. I was going to play.
Because it's our favorite restaurant.
But I'm coming back to the podcast.
You are coming back. And do you know, I just want to tell you real quick, to make every Wednesday night, Jay's kids would come. I mean, they would come over more than that, obviously, but every Wednesday night for sure. And every Wednesday night we ate at Saw's. We got Saw's Barbecue.
Well, I'm going to bring Saw's to the farm.
Farmer Jay is going to be so happy. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
I've loved it.
It was so fun. Great conversation. And it flew by.